Hey everyone, this is Haley from Cartooniverse, and today I would like to travel back to Pink Diamond Zoo for a bit to talk about not only this location, but also its inhabitants. And by that, I mean the Zoomen. These interesting beings are descendants of humans taken from Earth thousands of years ago, so obviously they act quite different than the current citizens of Earth. This contrast was made clear by looking at how Steven acted when he was stuck inside the zoo. In fact, I'm even going to the point of saying that the Zoomen are domesticated humans. This might be a bold assumption, but let me explain. Now, I might be going a bit game theory here, since I'm going to be referencing a few outside sources that are not just other works of animation. Also, there is talk about more scientific matters, such as genetics, so if that's not your cup of tea, feel free to check out one of my other theory videos, which discuss only matters from within the show. Since we just learned more about Pink Diamond, understanding the Zoomen may help us lead to conclusions about how Pink Diamond was as a leader. So, let's begin. What first got me interested in making this video was reading the book How to Tame a Fox and Build a Dog. It chronicles the breeding experiments done in Russia since the 1950s that attempted to recreate the evolution of wolves into dogs to see how domestication may have happened. Except instead of wolves, they used foxes from fox farms. And instead of taking 15,000 years, like the ancestors of the dog did to become the companions they are today, these scientists were able to change foxes dramatically in only a few decades. This is an amazing book and I definitely recommend it. But if you are looking for a much shorter version of this tale, I suggest listening to the Radiolab podcast episode on this. This is where I first heard about this topic and I have been deeply fascinated by it ever since. So, how does this relate to Zoomen? Well, Zoomen share a remarkable resemblance to some of the traits that these domesticated foxes obtained as they were bred for tameness. Let me first explain what happened to the foxes over the years. After not much time at all, they practically became dogs, which is pretty crazy. In the process of selecting the tamest foxes to breed, many things inadvertently happened. This included the foxes getting curly tails that wag like a dog's, droopy ears, white patches on their fur, new coat colors, rounded snouts, and smaller teeth. They would even come over to you if you called and would whine to get attention. They also enjoyed being around humans often and could form strong attachments to whoever raised them. Many of these things happened due to changes in hormones in their bodies as they became tamer. For example, as the book states, higher levels of serotonin in the brain lead to an elevated mood and less anxiety. What was observed in the domestication of foxes was that they had higher levels of serotonin than normal foxes. The exact same can be said when comparing dogs to wolves. So these foxes were happier and less aggressive, and they were always eager to play with humans. There was also the case with testosterone, which influences aggressive behavior, the development of muscles, bone mass, body hair, and more. The domesticated foxes had lower levels of this, once again leading to them being much tamer. These changes in hormones led to the foxes maintaining pup-like behavior for their whole lives. Long story short, these foxes were staying younger looking longer and retaining the friendly behavior that fox pups have. They are also so adorable. I would definitely want one, but of course it's banned in California, so I should probably stick with getting a dog instead. Finally, there's the fact that before being in this experiment, the original foxes used were from fox farms, who were bred to have different colors of fur. With all this being said, let's actually go back to the Zoomen now and see how this applies to them. First, let's go over physical features. One thing people notice is that many of them appear androgynous, with a variety of hair lengths in both males and females, as well as a few other things. And in fact, for most of the males, there's an absence of body hair. Only one has an actual beard, and a few other have a bit of arm or chest hair. There are also some very interesting eye colors, with many Zoomen having green or mint colored eyes. The rest of their features such as skin colors and hair type vary dramatically, which is interesting considering how small the population is. There are also very few older looking people, which could be a product of the choosing only happening every once in a while. A new feature is the appearance of cat-like mouths in a few of the Zoomen, giving them a playful look, which goes right along with what I want to talk about next. And that is their personality. They are extremely easy to please and are joyful about almost everything. However, with that comes the ignorance of almost every other aspect of being a human, such as feeling pain or sadness. They have never learned what it means to choose things for oneself, and so they go along with whatever happens to them in their life and don't question it. But as we saw, even a single bad thing makes them cry like children. So with the traits of a Zoomen listed, it is time to compare them to the domesticated foxes. Like these foxes, we have humans that are most likely bred for a certain type of personality. That is, of course, a personality of compliance, one that is always happy and enthusiastic to meet others. Along with that was someone choosing what other traits are passed on, such as skin color, eye color, and hair type. Some new varieties showed up along the way, such as interesting eye colors and a whole new look for mouths. Of course, humans don't have a lot of the traits that foxes have, but disregarding those, there are still very strong parallels between the two. So in the thousands of years since humans were put in the zoo, there have been some pretty big changes that have taken place in these humans, much like the foxes that were bred for being tame. Because this was in Pink Diamond Zoo, it is safe to say that it was her vision to create a utopia for humans to live in. But were these changes in the humans intentional? Or did it just happen over the millennia? Well, considering that they have an event called the Zoomen, which is basically a matchmaking service, it is clear that certain humans were chosen to carry on their traits to their offspring. They aren't just a product of their peaceful environment. Foxes with lower levels of serotonin were more aggressive no matter where or how they were raised. So to see almost every Zoomen being so happy and cheerful all the time, it can be said that there was some deliberate experimenting to get the most docile human possible, a human that never truly grows up. And it seemed to work. Pink Diamond may have just seen humans as strange animals that were very interesting when happy, so that's what they were forced to become. But who knows, something else might be at play here. In an article from Pace magazine about the zoo, the author gives a theory that the earrings the Zoomen are wearing also function as a testosterone suppressant, making them look and act the way they are. But something I've yet to mention in detail is the Zoomen's environment. As the article states, we can see the process in which humans may have submitted to a life of leisure in the zoo by looking at how Greg reacted to it. At first, they were resistant and wanted to escape, but soon they gave in and found that life at the zoo could be very nice. This life of no worries was passed on to their children, and with that disappeared almost every aspect of human culture. This combination of a peaceful environment plus a tame personality of the Zoomen means that they were more or less domesticated, just as humans domesticated dogs, cows, pigs, and a few other animals. So, what comes along with domestication? Besides everything I've already mentioned, there is the unfortunate side effect that domesticated animals become reliant on humans. And it appears that is the case with the Zoomen. The moment they get really hurt, there are gems to calm them down. Without those protector gems, they may have had even a harder time becoming better. Would Steven really be doing them a favor by taking them out of their environment? They would have trouble adjusting to human culture, not to mention the possibility of any defenses they may now lack that protect humans from becoming sick. However, Steven already instilled some of his knowledge and personality onto them, so the change may have already begun. But when gems decided to change the way humans are, they stripped them of their ability to live in the wild. As the novella The Little Prince states, you become responsible forever for what you have tamed. If the Zoomen ever do get to go to Earth, I hope they are able to adapt to life there without too many difficulties. It was a cruel thing for Pink Diamond to do, even if she believed she was saving the human race by preserving some of its inhabitants after the Earth was robbed of its resources. But from her actions, it did appear that she really took a liking to humans. But as a gem, knowing what is best for humans does not come naturally. Let's hope the Zoomen are able to adapt to human society and finally get to know the planet from which they originated. So, do you agree with this theory? Personally, I was very surprised to see how much the domestication of the fox paralleled the way the Zoomen are. Let me know in the comments section. If you'd like to see more theories that are based on real life topics, you can also mention that. This of course requires reading, but I don't mind doing that from time to time. But this does take quite a bit of effort to put together a theory such as this, so please consider becoming a patron and joining those that help support this channel create new videos on a weekly to daily basis. And make sure to subscribe and click the little bell icon to get notifications for any time we upload a new video. Thank you to all my wonderful proofreaders who read this despite it being very sciencey. And have an animated day, everyone!